This is the EPL4, 6-24 power by 50mm rifle scope, and Arken Optics' first crossover scope. Those are optics designed to appeal both to hunters and to long-distance target shooters. We're going to take a closer look at its features, test its performance, and see how well it fulfills both roles on this episode of Moondog Industries. Hey, Moondog here. Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about Arken Optics, and perhaps more than any other company in the last couple of years has really been instrumental in driving down the cost of what many used to consider a high-end optic. With their introduction of their SH4 and later their EP5, they've really blurred the lines between what someone used to consider a budget optic and what people consider a high-performance optic. Well, one of the biggest criticisms they've had with all of their optics is their weight. The weight of their individual scopes are generally a little heavier, as much as 10 ounces heavier than their nearest or considered competitor. Well, to address those concerns, especially for you hunters out there, they've come out with a lightweight crossover scope, their EPL4. We're going to take a look at it today. We're going to see what you get in the box, see its features, and then take it out to outdoors and to the range and test it out. So let's get started. First, let's take a look at the contents of the box, but rather than doing a tedious unboxing video where you're watching me fumble through the packaging, let me just show you what you get in the box. This is the Arken EPL4 6-24 by 50mm rifle scope, and I got a chance to see this earlier this year at SHOT Show. But this is the first sample that I've actually gotten my hands on to test, and I want to thank Arken for sending this out to me to test and evaluate. And this is quite a nice piece, like all of their other scopes that I've tested so far. It has front threads, and it does include a 3-inch sunshade, so we'll be screwing that in a little bit later. But it does have a slightly smaller tube than their other scopes. This is to reduce weight, and that's one of the biggest criticisms that Arken has had in the past with their other scopes, is that they're a tad heavy. I mean, they're really designed for long-range shooting, and I mean, they've been just huge demand in long range with the long range shooters for Arken scopes, but a lot of hunters also wanted to get a scope, but they were complaining it's a little bit heavy. So this EPL4 was designed for them. It's meant to be a crossover scope, light enough that you'd be using it for hunting, and occasionally, if you want to compete in long distance or just for fun long distance, it has a lot of the features that their PRS scopes are designed for, especially this awesome turret. I mean, this is tall, very super visible, and has their rock solid zero stop. So you can hear that. Just look at how solid this is. Yeah, this zero stop is not moving. And this is how loud these turrets are. Super audible, crazy loud, and tactile positive. And let's just take a look at this turret. Oh, this is different. It has a coin cap. Let's see if you want to reset your zero on your windage, you just unscrew that, pop up your turret, and then set it back down to reset your zero. Not as loud, but still quite loud, and tactile positive. So that's a nice little change. I hope they incorporate that with some of their other scopes. Well, maybe not, because you really couldn't do it with this one because of the way that the zero stop is designed, but I do appreciate that. It's got six levels of illumination with a stop in between, but I did notice that this particular scope has a super stiff knob for the illumination. It's softened up that I can move it now, but it was crazy tight to begin with. So let me know in the comments if yours was unusually tight to turn, and also if your particular model, if you have one of these, came with a coin battery. They're cheap, they're easy enough to get, and you'd want to get a bunch of extras just in case anyway. But yeah, that's just something that I noticed with my particular box. And it has a nice smooth parallax focus wheel going from 10 yards, which again is a nod to the hunters out there, especially those who are into air gun hunting or hunting squirrels and other varmint on your property. You want to be able to have the flexibility to dial down to something fairly close. Why having a 10-yard focus is nice. Anyway, let's check out the magnification ring. Smooth. I can hear a little bit of friction, but I don't feel it. And it's got a 6 to 24 throw in 180 degrees. And let's just check out this ocular fast focus. Oh, that's smooth. You can hear a little bit of friction, but it feels pretty darn smooth. And it's stiff enough that it's not going anywhere. Same with your magnification in terms of stiffness. So we're going to take this outdoors. We're going to check out through the lens what the quality of the glass is and take it out to the range, and we're going to check out the illumination next. All right, we are looking at the peak of Mount Davidson, which is approximately 1,300 yards away, and the scope is set at 6 power because at lowest power we are getting the best overall image we can through this particular optic in terms of brightness, sharpness, detail, contrast, color, etc. And you can compare the sky inside of the scope to that outside of the scope to get a sense of what color or brightness changes are occurring as we increase the magnification. We are just magnifying all the faults in the glass and introducing more distortion. So let's do that. We can see the changes in size of the first focal plane reticle, and I'm also noticing a little vignetting. So we've lost just a tad of the eye relief. So I'm going to make an adjustment to the position of the camera by like a half an inch. And at our maximum, at 24 power, I'm able to see the top of the hill there in pretty decent detail. I'm not seeing any noticeable or significant distortions or vignetting on the outer edge of the scope picture. And I can clearly see a trail marker sign sticking up above the bushes there, just to the right and slightly above the center crosshairs. This is a good proxy for what a 30-inch steel target would look like at this distance. Let's see what this illumination is like. It is off 1, off 2, off 3, off 4, off 5, off 6. And this is its maximum brightness. And let me just cover up the bell here so you can see there is illumination on the very center crosshairs, part of the crosshair there. And let's zoom up just so you can see that a little more clearly. Alright, we're at the range. I've put up some reference targets and we're going to walk back to the 100-yard benches to set up. While I do that, now would be a great time for you to hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell buttons. You're influencing Big Tech's AI and letting it know that this is a good video that it should recommend to other folks like you. Okay, we are at 100 yards with the Arken and we are at 6 power. We're going to start by seeing what its range of adjustments are. So let's start with our elevation here. And that's the top. And you can see just the edge of the eye box there. Now that is an artifact of the camera rig. Let's see where we are at the bottom. And there we are. So that's our bottom. And let's bring it back to our 0. Now let's try our windage adjustments. There we go. So there's our rightmost point. No dead clicks. And it just hits the wall right there. So that is a solid end to that. All right, we are zeroed out. Let's bring it up to our maximum magnification here. And we're going to bring it up to 24. All right, so we got it lined up. Let's do a box test. Let's start with a full rotation on our elevation, and then a full rotation on our windage. And don't mind the gray eye box, the blacking of the eye box. That is an artifact of the camera. And then back on the windage, we are spot on. All right, we're going to do our turret abuse test that is colloquially called the nipple twister by my buddy Cyclops Joe, and we're just going to turn the hell out of these turrets here. This one's a little harder to turn because it's smaller, but you get the idea. All right, so let's bring this back to its stated 0 on the dial. All right, let's take a look at how sharp this scope is and what kind of detail it can resolve. Starting with the paper target on the bottom left, it's easy enough to see a hole on a reactive sticker target, but I can also easily make out 2 additional bullet holes below that sticker target, and these are small .22 caliber holes on paper. In this less than daylight bright target cove, we are still getting good brightness and contrast, though I am seeing some chromatic aberration. There's a fine purple line fringe on the right side of the target backing where it meets the darker background. The prismatic effect of chromatic aberration can make the image appear less sharp than it could be. Looking at the U.S. Air Force optical resolution chart on the bottom right, I can resolve individual horizontal and vertical lines down to element 5 in group -1, which is pretty good. It's only 1 element larger than the Arken EP5 could resolve. Alright, before I get into what I think of the EPL4 after testing it out, I'd like to ask a quick favor. Hit that like button right now. It just takes a second to hit the like button. But the fact that you're still watching this probably means you like it. And if you like my content in general and how I present my information, consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't already. It doesn't cost anything to hit that subscribe button. It's absolutely free, but you're encouraging me to make more videos like this. And when you hit that bell icon, you'll be notified when I post my next product review. Okay, so first, let me address any sort of wish-making or fanboys out there who say Arken scopes and the EPL4 are as good as a $2,000 Leupold, or insert your favorite European name brand here. Those scopes optically are in another league, but for the price you're paying for this is amazing. I mean, you're getting the same glass as in Arken's EP5, and there's a reason why Arken made a name for themselves, because their Japanese ELD glass is amazingly sharp. For what you're paying for it, there's a reason why a lot of ELR shooters chose Arken scopes for doing their extreme long-range competitions. And you're getting basically the same sharp optical quality for long-range shooting. You're making some trade-offs to get it to a lighter weight and be a crossover. A crossover being appealing to both hunting and to long-range shooters. You've got a slightly smaller objective here. Than smaller glass means less weight, and that also applies to the glass elements in the tube. So the tube's smaller at 30 millimeters instead of 34, and 50 instead of 56. But while you're losing slightly on brightness compared to the EP5, it's still, the Japanese ELD glass is still brighter than a lot of 56 millimeter scopes out there. And I should point out that the closest equivalent in terms of sort of price tier to the Arken EPL4 are probably the Athlon and sort of mid-tier Vortexes, but even their crossover scopes are not as light as this scope. So this is actually lighter than some pure hunting scopes. So
shut up and take my money!
If you're interested in picking one up, I'll include more information and product links in my full written review at moondogindustries.com. Thanks again for watching. Moondog, out. Hey, I'd like to know what you thought of this video. Leave me a comment or chat with me on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, MeWe, Instagram, or Locals. And if you want to see all of my videos, go to moondogindustries.com.